22nd, 2015. And it's about 10:55. So fast. And I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public session on RSA 91A, :3, Roman 2A. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
All right. Any further discussion?
Yeah. What's the topic?
The topic will be about the police chief.
Just as a couple of follow-up points, you made the comment at the last Board of Selectmen public meeting that when I commented that there are several town residents and taxpayers who have very strongly supported the current chief and the current organization, one of which was the Meridian Lake Association, which I commented on. You specifically asked for a vote, which I said I did not indicate I had the vote. I just said that that's what conversations I had with various Meridian Lake Association representatives and officers. Since that time, I did go back and ask for any information that they would have on the vote, and the information was that their board voted 14-0 in favor of the current police chief organization. I think the president of the Meridian Lake Association is here. If I expressed that correctly?
Right, we have 17 board members.
17.
14 voted yes, and the other 3 did not vote yes.
You recall my issue was the association itself.
That's
what was being purported, was the association.
No.
All right, well, that's
a follow-up on that. But the other part is, the topic is the police chief. And so I would respectfully submit a recusal request as follows, and I will read it. I will have it available if needed for the public. But it reads as follows. It's a little lengthy, I apologize for its length, but it's fairly important so that we have the factors on the table. The New Durham Ethics Policy is dated July 22nd, the request for recusal, July 22nd, 2015. The New Durham Ethics Policy states that we expect A, our public servants and volunteers to act in the best interest of the town, B, public servants to disclose any personal, financial, material, or substantial interest in matters affecting the town which come before them for action, C, public servants to be independent, impartial, and responsible for their fellow townspeople in their actions. D, public servant positions in our town not to be used for personal gain. And E, most importantly, public servants to remove themselves from decision making if they have a conflict of interest. It is critical that these policy statements be strictly applied so that the public retains confidence in the integrity of its government. Our town ethics policy further goes on to define a conflict of interest as follows, quote, a situation, circumstance, or financial interest which has the potential to cause a private or personal interest to interfere with the proper exercise of a public duty, or which has rendered the individual incapable of being impartial. Our system requires a recusal in any process when it becomes apparent that a conflict of interest may exist. This is done so that any challenge to the neutrality of a member may be appropriately considered. A requested recusal is not designed to be a personal attack on anyone, nor is it to imply that the member did anything illegal, and I want to make sure that's clear. When a recusal is requested and accepted, it is intended to provide the citizens of New Durham an impartial panel on the issue being considered. As an elected town official, I feel that I am bound to try to assure the integrity of any Board of Selectmen decisions, and that they are made with as much impartiality as possible, and I think that's also evidenced by various times where I have recused myself. The town policy defines recusal as follows, quote, completely removing or excusing oneself from participation as a public servant in a specific action or discussion due to a conflict of interest, end of quote. The town policy further states under section 2A, I, quote, public servants shall avoid conflicts of interest, end of quote. In the issue being considered by the Durham Board of Selectmen in the matter of the employment status of Police Chief Sean Bernier, and or making any determination of further employment-related actions in the case of Police Chief Bernier, I am formally requesting Selectman David Bickford to recuse himself from any decisions made by the Board of Selectmen on these matters. The basis for this request is as follows. 1. Selectman Bickford has a clear bias towards Police Chief Bernier as evidenced by Selectman Bickford's multiple formal written complaints against Chief Bernier. These formal written complaints include the following. A, on September 11th, 2014, a complaint from David A. Bickford alleging Sean Bernier, quote, is involved in utilizing town of New Durham property, a police dog, to engage in electioneering activities, end of quote. All evidence was presented to town council, and town attorney mayor concluded, quote, I continue to believe that the information presented is not sufficient to support an investigation, end of quote. The opinion further concluded that the statute cited in Selectman Bickford's complaint was, quote, being stretched as far beyond its limited scope, end of quote. The information presented, quote, is not the stuff electioneering is made of, end of quote. The conclusions from town attorney mayor necessitated an apology letter from the town administrator on behalf of New Durham Board of Selectmen dated September 19, 2014 to Chief Bernier. And a copy is available on request, and it was read publicly with Chief Bernier's consent in one of the fall meetings of the Board of Selectmen. On June 26, 2015, complaint from David A. Bickford stating the observation of, quote, Chief of Police Sean Bernier transporting a family member in the police cruiser from March Drive to intersection of Birch Hill Road, Main Street, and Depot Road. Possible violation of ethics policy, page 5, section 2D, no unfair personal use of town property, end of quote. In actuality, the vehicle was being used for the business of the employee, as Chief Bernier's son was helping Chief Bernier lay out a training course for Canine Fred to pass certain certifications, and those are used on behalf of the town. On June 29th, 2015, a complaint from David A. Bickford stating the observation, quote, Chief Bernier arrived at police department in cruiser with Mrs. Bernier and passenger at 4:58 p.m. Sunday, June 28th, 2015. They went into the police station, then returned to cruiser at 5:24 p.m. and left with Mrs. Bernier as passenger. Possible violation of ethics policy, page 5, section 2D, no unfair personal use of town property, end of quote. In actuality, the vehicle was being used for the business use of the employee, as Mrs. Bernier was being transported to the police station to take photographs of Chief Bernier and Officer Murray during the recognition presentation of the commendation letter to Officer Brett Murray. These photos were later published in the July 2nd, 2015 Bay Center. Note, none of the above three complaints from Selectman Bickford against Chief Bernier have merit based on current information. D. Selectman Bickford made a complaint to the New Hampshire Attorney General's Office in 2012 to 2013 timeframe, making claims that the New Durham Police Department, with Chief Bernier in charge of the department, stole from residents. Several people were interviewed, including David Bickford, Jeff Cradaville, Jeremy Bourgeois, Terry Jarvis, Karen Keefe, etc., and others. The complaint from Selectman Bickford against the New Durham Police Department was shown to be a false accusation. The State Attorney General Office letter dated of October 9, 2013, regarding concerns of individuals during the interview process brought against David Bickford, stated that, quote, facts uncovered during the investigation reveal some potential ethical concerns, end of quote. That's where that part of it ended. Number 2, from the period of 2010 to 2012, Selectman Bickford's son was investigated for multiple legal infractions, which Chief Bernier was involved in the investigations. Number 2, at the May 18, 2015 New Durham Board of Selectmen meeting, Selectman Bickford was asked by a member of the public if he had anything personal against Chief Bernier, and Selectman Bickford stated publicly that he did. He later tried to correct this statement by indicating it was not personal. Board of Selectmen meeting of 5/18, videotape between 24 minutes and 34 minutes. Selectman Bickford is the only New Durham resident with any formal written complaints against Police Chief Bernier within the past 18 months. This information, when placed in the light of Chief Bernier's stellar performance reviews over the past several years, I believe shows strong evidence to illustrate a personal bias on behalf of Selectman Bickford against Police Chief Bernier. Therefore, since the evidence strongly shows a bias, any voting participation regarding the employment status of Chief Bernier from Selectman Bickford is an ethical violation of substance. A refusal to recuse by Selectman Bickford in a case where clear conflict of interest is evident is a serious violation of the New Durham ethics policy, and places New Durham, could place New Durham in a position that potentially jeopardizes the public safety and possibly exposes the town to a significant lawsuit. For the above reasons that show a clear bias against Police Chief Bernier, I specifically request on July 22nd, 2015 that Selectman Bickford recuse himself from any New Durham Board of Selectmen decisions relative to the town of New Durham employment status of Police Chief Bernier, including any New Durham Board of Selectmen considerations of Police Chief Bernier remaining as the New Durham Police Chief. And I'll sign that. So that's the formal request for you.
All right, well, thank you for your statement on it. Now, do we have a motion?
No, there's still more discussion I have.
What?
There's still more discussion. We're still open for discussion. I've asked for the request of refusal. Are you responding to that?
Am I responding to? No, I don't agree with you. It's like,
Well, you like them to
it's
do
like,
this.
trying to stifle the whistleblower. That's what you're doing.
Not at all.
Well, that's what I say.
I understand, that's your opinion. So you're
And-
declining refusal?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right.
Now, further discussion. I would and will be opposing going into non-public for several reasons, not the least of which I've just indicated a very strong situation where I think recusal is a necessity just for the public's.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Well,
Well, I didn't hear what you first said.
I said I will be opposing going into non-public for several reasons, not the least of which is the one I just described relative to recusal. There are other reasons for that, and any conversation that we have on this is under currently a situation in which we would have no plan if any decisions were made to have Police Chief Bernier separate his employment. Therefore, without a plan in place, it seems premature to have any of these discussions, at least in terms of having any date that is in a nearby date today.
So what would you do if Chief Bernier was incapacitated? Say we can't do anything?
We're not in that situation.
Well,
That's an emergency.
We're not in that situation.
you say we can't do anything because we
No, I didn't
become
say we can't, I
incapacitated.
said we should not.
All right, now, what else you got? Anything else?
I assume there's other discussion, but,
No, get nothing to say.
okay. Then I'll close, I've had my say.
All right.
I think it's unfortunate, but
All those in favor of the motion, identify yourself by roll call vote. David Bickford, yes.
Craig Matthews, yes.
Selectman Swenson opposed. And the reason I'm opposed is, as I said before, I think that it's improper. I think that the recusal information was fairly clear and plain. It is, I think it shows a tendency potentially for looking at the selectmen doing a penalty for unsubstantiated complaints, and it is a possible retribution, and I have a strong objection. That's why I think that recusal is so important.
Who did the investigation on the last two complaints?
I think Jeremy has an email in his incoming box. I actually asked. I saw the complaints, I actually asked, that's the information I got.
Have you done an investigation on the last two complaints?
I gave them to the chief and I asked him to respond.
Okay, you got a response?
I think he emailed me this morning, but I haven't had the time to actually read it.
But Swenson's all about, okay, thank you.
Well, I took the liberty to ask. I don't know if anybody, did you take the liberty to ask before you issued the complaints?
No, I issued the complaint. You know what?
I mean,
You know what? You're not
normally-
supposed to be running around town. You issue the complaint and then you get the information. That's the town administrator's job. Okay? You wanna go right ahead. But don't go after the people that,
I think she's
Bring
talking,
it.
I think she's
Notice.
talking less on the fire department on that issue.
all right, always, oh yeah, we always gotta point that. We're ready to go.
You apply.
We're in non-public.
You probably wanna stay here, don't you?